Hello my dear friend, I wish you wisdom. Welcome back to my channel. In this video we will talk about psychic defense. Mostly because in the past I received several emails in regards to this subject, and also on my last video I received a comment in regards to this subject as well. Okay, so Morpheus says the following. This is an unrelated topic I'm going to ask you. Can you please explain to me how someone is using black magic on me and making my car key remote not work, and then suddenly work perfectly fine? I've worked with some very jealous people with fragile egos that have done many similar things like this when things are going good for me. They perceive me as a threat due to their own insecurity. What can I do to protect myself and reverse block this? Thanks in advance, I appreciate the content of your videos. Obviously, I am going to insert here a joke. Have you got your car checked? Anyway, I want to make some things clear right away. When you look at black magic's definition by the book, black magic is the magic that you use for selfish reasons. Okay? Anything that is not related to spiritual attainment is considered black magic. Or anything that you do in order to harm someone, okay? It's considered to be black magic. Now, to me personally, and this is my personal opinion, of course, there are terrible people out there who do atrocious things, okay? But to me, the worst black magician is the ignorant kind. And unfortunately, the world is full of people who are ignorant to their own power, who don't keep their words in check, because you see, magic occurs also with the daily words that you use. Because if you pay attention, like I've said in a million times in my videos, if you pay attention to what you speak in the morning, and then when you go outside, when you go to work, if you pay attention, you will observe that people around you will start to speak the same things that you spoke early in the morning, or you will see your words on banners, t-shirts, maybe not exactly what you said with the exact same words, but they will always be reflected on the environment. So if a person is not keeping her words in check, because you see, with words you can build a person up or you can put a person down, it's that easy. So if you don't keep your words in check, if you don't keep your thoughts in check, if you engage on a daily basis into this fantasy visualization without having a focus, and then if you think nasty things about someone, you can actually say that you are being on the ignorant side. The problem here is that we are all connected, right? That's what we learn in every spiritual teaching, is that we are all one. We are all connected by these fine energy lines with each other. And what is interesting, because this is the first step in psychic defense, okay? As you can see on the screen, it's thought control. And this is the thing that you will learn in initiation into Hermetics. You have to learn to control your thoughts. You have to learn to maintain a thoughtless mind. And I actually did a video on how to start to have a thoughtless mind in the initiation into Hermetic series, which is called Thought Control, and I will link that video in the description box below. And obviously, thought control, you cannot do it overnight. It's a thing that you have to, I think, practice all your life. And let me give you an example. We had a meeting with at work, at my job, with some other team leads, okay, in regards to a project that I'm working on. And we were all in the meeting, and one of the team leads started to complain about another woman from the production side that sent us some nasty emails. Because I was keeping this thoughtless mind, but with my focus on the person who was speaking, when I heard that she started to complain about the other person from the production side, I heard immediately, coming from nearby, a thought that actually said, well, you are actually speaking in emails in the exact same way as this person from the production side. Okay? So clearly, it was clear to me that that was not my self-generated thought, was a thought that was in the mind of someone present in that meeting room. Okay? And you see, when you're walking in a public transportation, or when you go to visit your relatives, maybe, if you are not paying attention, if you are not focused, you will believe that these thoughts that fly around, they are your own. And if you pay attention to them, you will start to feed them energy. And then if you keep focusing on them, and we are all guilty of this, you will start to create these powerful thought forms because you feed them with your attention. So that's why it's very important to start to have this, at least to try little by little, day by day, to have this thoughtless mind, because you will start to have this detachment, okay? And you will not be so engaged in these thoughts that occur in your mind, and you will be able to stop them just by an act of will. So thought control, thoughtless mind, will be the first step in psychic defense. So back to what Morpheus said in regards to these projections that come from envious people, jealous people, and so forth. First of all, you have to accept the fact that not everybody has access to this subject. Not every single person knows about this subject, and if you are not exposed to an idea, you cannot possibly expect them to think or behave in a certain way. So the only thing that you can do, mostly, in the most part, is to work on yourself, to try for yourself to do better, to try to be the best you can, to be the most polite and gracious to other people. That's all that you can do, and to control yourself. You cannot control by force or to try to make other people accept your ideas. I mean, in my videos, for example, I am well aware that I cannot agree, and other people cannot agree with my ideas all the time. I cannot be likable for everybody, you know what I mean? So yeah, when these projections come at you, you cannot do much. Basically, the only thing that you can do is to try to control your reaction to them. And I want to share with you a little story to make this thing clear. So let's invent a story that can help us to illustrate and understand how another person can project their, I don't know, nastiness, nasty thoughts on you. Okay? So let's say that Anne has a conversation with one of her coworkers, and her name is Maria, whom she thought she was her best friend. Maria is clearly deep down a bit jealous of Anne's promotion, although she doesn't affirm it, and within herself because she didn't put in the work to see why she has this feeling of unease. She is feeling envious and jealous. And Maria starts to throw in the middle of the conversation, without thinking so much about what she's saying, to her friend Anne, things like, "You know, Anne, I don't like this type of people who just flatter the boss to get ahead. You know, these social climbers, and there are so many around. Can you believe it? I mean, I'm not referring to you, but I've seen so many cases in the company already. It's such a shame that some of us are always overlooked, although we work way harder." I'm a bit entering too much in the subject, but you know what I mean. This conversation can occur in a workplace, but this is an invented story just to make my point go across. Okay, now based on this conversation, based on this interaction, Anne, as soon as she hears that, she starts to feel uncomfortable about her friend's words because she feels they are targeting her. And now, because of this interaction, these thoughts start to play in her mind, something like this: how could she done this to me? I thought we were really good friends, but maybe she is going through some rough times. And because Anne keeps on looking and giving her attention to this thought, and because her mind, which is like a broken radio sometimes, keeps on playing it again and again and again, now this simple thought becomes thicker and thicker and thicker, and starts to generate uneasiness inside her body. And she starts to become bitter and bitter, which soon enough that bitterness will start to be reflected by Anne in the way she speaks, in the way she moves, in the way she thinks on a regular basis. So basically that's how you create a thought form for yourself, by just paying attention to a certain idea and let it play in your mind day by day. And because your attention gives energy to that particular idea, whatever you move your attention towards, that's where your energy will go. Then this thought form can actually start to eat you up. But that is basically Anne's reaction to a conversation that she had with a coworker, and now she is taking over the bitterness of Maria. You get what I'm saying here? So to sum it all up, Maria was projecting unpleasant thoughts that she then verbalized in the end to Anne because of her promotion. Remember, this is a made-up story, but although this is a story, similar situations like this happen all the time, every day, to people who are actually not alert and don't pay attention to themselves. And this occurs on a daily basis to most people, and many things are done even unconsciously just because people don't work on themselves and their reaction. But what can we actually do to not feed these thoughts? If you search on the internet, or if you search in general how to actually increase your psychic defense, most people will tell you that you have to shield yourself. Okay, that's the main thing that they will tell you, to put on a shield. So basically the first step will be to become aware of the nasty thought, and then to start to project a shield on yourself. So this is the most common thing that you can do, and people actually will advise you to do it. although you will see in a minute that I don't agree with it. But I will present it here because this is a method that actually people swear by it, and for most people will work. And this is a basic aura cleansing. So the first step will be for you to actually become aware of the nasty thought, okay? And then to start to infuse your body with white light. For this, you will have to just sit in a chair with your back straight or in your bed, but make sure you don't fall asleep. Then you have to close your eyes. So then you have to imagine that above your head there is a ball of brilliant white light, and then below your feet there is another ball of brilliant white light. And sustain this image of having two balls of light, one above your head and one below your feet. Then you can tense all your body muscles really tight, okay? And then relax them. And you can do this for 1 or 3 times, how many times you feel it's needed. Then take a deep breath, and as you breathe in, you just imagine how the light from above travels down through your body to the light below your feet. Then you take another deep breath and imagine how the light is traveling from below your feet through your entire body, and it travels to the ball of light above. Basically, you imagine your entire body as this pillar of brilliant light. Then you breathe again in slowly and deeply, and you feel your body at inhalation how it's filled with white light, and at exhalation you imagine how this light is projected outside of your body, creating a sphere of light all around you. And in your imagination, you just have to make this sphere of light very intense and make this sphere so big in your imagination that fills the entire room in which you sit with this brilliant light. And after you do this visualization, you will see that you will feel a lot better, a lot centered and grounded and good, and you actually achieve that thoughtless mind state, which is perfect for psychic defense. Personally, although I use this method for aura cleansing because it's very easy, you can do it at work whenever you want to do something, I prefer to use this method in the morning just to clear my mind, or before a manifestation spell or something like that. But whenever I come across nasty thoughts generated by other people or things of my own doing, for example, if you have, I don't know, an addiction. I had an addiction in the past to buy perfumes, let me tell you, and that was a thick thought form that I created for myself. So whenever I deal with these types of situations, I don't use shielding, because in order to shield yourself, you have to maintain the shield and you have to force yourself to use a lot of energy for visualization and stuff of that nature, which I don't agree. So instead, what I do is to drain the thought form. So whenever you are thinking thoughts like, oh, this person is envious of me, or oh, I cannot quit, I don't know, smoking, or whatever thing that doesn't serve you, I personally recommend, instead of shielding, which you can use for other purposes because it's tremendous and wonderful, I recommend you to drain the shit out of the thought form and to get your energy back. So, how I came about this method? I have a relative who is always complaining, okay? Because it's a relative, I cannot just avoid her. It is inevitable. But whenever I came to visit her in the first years of my practice, I clearly knew that this person, in an unconscious level, is like a psychic vampire. And I tried, as I stood in her presence, to build this aura shield and to fill myself with white light every single time whenever I visited her. Now, let me tell you, whenever, every single time I tried to build this aura shield around me with white light, every single time I did that, this person grabbed her chair and stood next to me and even laid a hand on my hand while she kept talking. So I started to meditate on it because I had to visit this relative almost every single week and I was physically drained in her presence. So I wanted a method that can help me to overcome this problem. And I got my answer. A while back, I spoke about life recapitulation. I received a message from a guy that said that I got this idea from I don't know what book. No, I got this idea of life recapitulation from Carlos Castaneda books, and in one of them Don Juan said that he, reserved a week or so for just reviewing his life. And that's what I did. That was my inspiration. So in this meditation, I started to think about methods on how you can actually protect yourself, because this white shield thing did not work out for me. And let me explain. Whenever an entity sees you, okay, in the astral realm I'm speaking of, they see you like this bubble of light. So to me, it did not make any sense at all to infuse myself with more light, because obviously I was attracting more and more things that I did not want. And then, as I was meditating on the subject, a flash came into my mind, and it was related to the characters that I used to choose to play with in games. I knew about this method for a while now, but I was very hesitant to share such a method on my channel because I'm trying to be a serious magic channel. And to me, to come here and to present to you something that was inspired by video games, I was a little bit insecure about it. But to my own defense, 2 weeks ago, I actually discovered an author who is actually speaking about a similar method to mine. So I was actually surprised, and I don't know, my heart just felt completely at ease, just because I found this author who is actually teaching something similar to what I do. So I'm not the only crazy person out there who uses the drain method. Okay, so back to gaming. So I remembered in my meditation what characters I used to play with in games in general. And I remembered that I played World of Warcraft about, 12 years ago or something like that. And I always choose to play with the warlock. So that was my main character. And you had certain skills that you could choose to play with. And I remember that I had a character based on affliction, if I remember that skill tree correctly. And the other one was based on destruction. And like today, I am not into that whole idea of Enochian magic. I am not into that at all. And this warlock can actually had actually some skills in which you can summon demons and stuff of that nature, other pets and things like that. Anyway, and in both cases, in destruction and affliction, I remember that you had a spell which was called drain mana or drain something. Okay, then later on, about, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago or something like that, I started to play League of Legends. And I think I played that game for about, I don't know, 3 months. And again, in that game, you had a character which was named Fiddlestick. And I always played that character. And I was a very good jungler, okay? And the main spell, again, that I used in that game was called, again, Drain. So basically the spell, both spells actually, drain the life force basically from the other character. And I get this huge inspiration. I mean, I was thinking in my meditation, why in the entire world I will remember these two characters when I have to deal with a person who is complaining. And then in a flash in my meditation came this idea: you can drain your thought forms. So I was like, huh, interesting. So I started to apply the methods that I got inspired by. And the next visit that I got to this relative of mine, instead of casting the shield and casting the aura cleansing and all that nature, I decided to play with my draining method. So my relative again started to get her chair next to me, to put her hands on my hand, the same thing like in the rest of the years. But this time my approach, my reaction was different. So she started to complain. You guys, this was the most insane thing that I saw before my eyes happening using a method. I wasn't expecting this. I wasn't able to reproduce this effect, but I will tell you in all honesty what happened. So I visualized this cloud formation just next to her. And I imagined this cloud, this gray black cloud. And I started to pull with my imagination words like complain, headaches, and I basically, in my imagination, I started to imagine these words, complaints, headaches, going into this cloud formation which was next to my relative. And then what I did was to focus on this cloud formation, which in my mind was this thick thought form, which was clouding her to start complaining on a day-to-day basis about several things. And I started to disintegrate this cloud formation, and basically at inhalation, as I was inhaling air, I started to view how pieces of this cloud started to disintegrate and to transform into vital energy, which you can see like sparkling little lights with a bluish hue. And then I started to inhale this vital force into myself. And I did this over and over and over again. Now, to my surprise, as I was keep going with this disintegration of this cloud called complaints, my relative started to stutter. She started having problems while she was speaking about her nasty problems in her life. And then at a certain point, she just got up and moved her chair on the opposite direction of the table, facing me. And then she asked herself why she couldn't speak. And then I said to her, maybe we should change the subject. Maybe we should talk about something nice now. And let me tell you, we started to talk about this television show that is on travel, which is called, I don't know, House International Hunters or something like that. And we had the best positive conversations in years. And you can apply this method for anything. Let's say that you want to quit smoking and you have these urges to smoke a cigar. That's another thought form that you created basically out of your habits. Okay, so basically you are trying to drain that bad habit out of your system. You can just imagine how that urge, however you choose to imagine it, goes into this cloud, grayish black cloud, and then as you inhale, you start to disintegrate pieces of that cloud, which will transform into life force that you then absorb back into your body. Like I've said in the beginning, I was hesitant to share such a method on my channel because it was mostly inspired by video games. But to back myself up, I found about 2 weeks ago an author which is called John Kreiter. And I found this book called Manifest Wealth Prosperity with Thought Forms and Servitors, just because I wanted to see how other people are approaching this wealth subject from a magical standpoint, because I want in the future to create a video on wealth magic. And in his book, he actually mentions another book that he wrote, which I don't own, but he mentioned, I don't know the title of the book, but I think if you search John Kreiter on Amazon, probably you'll find that book. He mentions a book about psychic vampires and how you can actually drain your life force back. Because if you pay attention to these nasty thought forms, you actually give to these thought forms your life energy. So I don't know, because like I've said, I don't own that book, but he mentions this stuff in this book, which is shown now on the screen. And when I heard that, I was like, whew, I mean, so good that there is someone out there that practices as well this method, and I am not the only one crazy around here. And in Starseed Wilding, which is a book written by Caris Melina Brown, there is a chapter about psychic vampires, and she says that a vampire out of balance will drain the life force out of people, but a vampire which is in balance is actually draining the poison out of people and not the life force out of them. You know what I mean? So I wanted to mention these books just because, actually for selfish reasons, to back myself up, but there are other authors out there that actually teaches you similar things. So to conclude everything, for psychic defense, you need thought control. You may use or not shield protection. And the last method that I shared with you was called drain. Let me know what other methods do you use for psychic defense in the comments down below, because maybe these things which I presented here may not work for all people, and maybe your method that you present in a comment may work for other people as well. So share that down below. What do you use? What do you do? And let me know your thoughts about this method. If you enjoy this content, please don't forget to subscribe and like. Also, please follow me on Instagram and check my Patreon page, because now I have a Patreon loyalty program. And see you next time.